Hey everybody, Riley here, and we're going to roll through another tropics update, very similar to what we saw yesterday. Time is now 10:34 on Wednesday morning. The National Hurricane Center still has this area of low pressure with a 40% chance of development over the next 2 to 7 days. But honestly, I think 40% is quite generous. Looking at just infrared satellite, very messy. It's very difficult to determine where exactly that low pressure is. Of course, we do see some thunderstorms popping up. These darker areas of red indicate those cloud tops, and usually the warmer they are, the darker they are, and that shows where thunderstorms are seeing most activity. But we're not really seeing that right now. So with the new spaghetti models coming in, let's take a little bit of a look at what they are saying. Now remember yesterday, we pointed out two potential scenarios this thing could go. And it looks like it's trying to take the better scenario. When I say better, I mean better for us. Lower chance of more significant development, as that low is likely going to ride the coast. Now, the models that are going further to the west, up through parts of Louisiana, those are hurricane models. Models specifically used for hurricane forecasting. And they're all really starting to tighten and hone in on that low pressure impacting somewhere around or just north of New Orleans, likely sometime for tomorrow. We do have a few outliers that bring that center of circulation up through parts of western Alabama and into parts of Mississippi, but I really don't think that that's going to happen. Pretty good consistency, even from yesterday, with this low pressure system skirting along the southern portions of the Alabama, Florida, Mississippi, Louisiana coast before impacting eastern Louisiana and curving up pretty sharp turn to the north, eventually once it moves further inland. Now, looking at probabilities. Probabilities are still there that we will likely have a tropical depression, that's winds of about 38 miles per hour or lower, likely develop over really potentially the next day, maybe within the next 24 hours. But the probability of a tropical storm forming is even lower than what we saw yesterday, only giving it about a 10 to 20% chance of tropical storms forming or tropical winds forming over the next couple of days. And if any development were to happen, it would likely be off the coast of Louisiana, and we'll get to exactly why in just a moment. But looking at intensity guidances, these are the same models that put out the spaghetti plots, but instead it tries to track how strong this potentially could get. Most of the hurricane models are keeping this as a very low-end system, not even tropical depression strength. A couple, once again, of outliers bring it up to tropical storm strength, but once again, I really don't think the chance of a tropical storm forming is incredibly high. If a tropical storm were to form, of course, the next name on the list would be Dexter. But if it takes that better scenario where it rides along the coast, it has a lot of land interaction, a lot of shear, and in general just doesn't have a lot going for it in terms of enhanced formation. Now, we saw where the highest probability of a tropical storm forming would be somewhere right off the coast of eastern Louisiana. That's because these ocean surface temperatures, the sea surface temperatures, are a little bit higher than what we see off the coast of Alabama and the central portions of the Gulf and off the western coast of Florida. Some of these places could potentially be nearing 90 degrees, and if that low pressure stalls out over these warmer waters, it could intensify into something a little bit stronger than currently forecast. But right now, it's not looking likely that that will occur. Now, let's run through some modeling. First, we'll take a look at, if the clicker will go ahead and advance, we'll take a look at that wind shear. Wind shear expected to be very high. This is 3 o'clock tomorrow. And it's likely that system will already be moving further inland, where it's already going to be falling apart due to that land interaction, which storms do not need. But looking at overall modeling, this is the GFS, the American model, keeping that low pressure, hugging the coast very close to land. Remember, tropical systems need open, warm, moist water, and it's not getting that when part of that low pressure system is interacting with land. But impacting Louisiana somewhere or sometime late tonight, early tomorrow. Of course, things will likely change, but in general, sometime on Thursday is when this is expected to make a quote-unquote landfall. Now, for folks in Louisiana, we could be talking very heavy rainfall, potentially even some flooding, and that could also be in store for parts of the extreme southern Mississippi coast. But we'll get to rainfall totals in a little bit, and the overall totals from Alabama are actually starting to trend down, especially along the coast, which is good news. But then we progress to Thursday night. This is at 10:45. This low pressure is well inland, moving off to the north. And with that low moving in, of course, it could spawn a few showers here in central Alabama, but not a tropical downpour by any means. The chance of rain or the chance of heavy rain is not extremely high. But then we get to Friday afternoon. We still have very strong southerly winds. This low pressure is moving further inland, and that could overall increase our chance of rain and our coverage of rain statewide as we go through the day on Friday, potentially lasting into Saturday and parts of Sunday. But not a tropical downpour. It's not going to rain all day, everywhere, but just know the chance of rain, of course, will be there, especially starting tomorrow. This is the European model, very similar idea, impacting somewhere in the eastern, southeastern corner of Louisiana sometime on Thursday. That low pressure moves further inland by Friday, and it will start to increase rain chances. Now, just know radar isn't going to look exactly like this. It just gives you an idea of what could happen. Those rain chances start to spread further to the north by Friday afternoon into early Saturday morning. Things calm down, and then the rain chances right back in the forecast for Saturday afternoon. But I think the rain chance for the weekend is just going to be those random pop-up showers and thunderstorms. And another thing too, even though we are on the eastern side of that center of circulation, we are not concerned with the threat of tornadoes. That low pressure is just way too weak to potentially produce any kind of significant inland impact. So of course that is good news. And those rain chances hang around for at least the next couple of days after Thursday and Friday. Still have plentiful moisture around and plentiful energy to help those storms start to fire up. But in terms of what we could see, here locally only about 1/4 of an inch to maybe as high as an inch of rain closer to the Mississippi line. Further down to the south, 2.5 to maybe as high as 4 inches could be possible, but it's not quite as high as what we've seen over the past couple of days where we could have had rainfall amounts as high as 6 inches. It appears the best chance to see significant rainfall totals will likely be down near New Orleans, off the coast and parts of the swamps, while most of Alabama remains spared. Now, one big potential issue for all of the beaches along the Gulf Coast, aside from the chance of rain, cloud cover, maybe not the prettiest days down at the beach, will be rip currents. There is a high risk of rip currents later in the week, primarily Friday and Saturday. This will be stretching all the way from Dolphin Island, Gulf Shores, all the way down to even parts of Panama City and Mexico Beach. So just know if the single red flags or double red flags are flying, do not go in the water. Just stay on the beach, enjoy the waves, but don't get in the water, because even a weak low pressure system like what we're expecting to deal with can cause significant issues with rip currents. So just remember, single red flag, double red flag, do not get in the water. Just sit in the sand, enjoy the beach. And just know too, it's not going to rain all day, everywhere if you are going to be beach bound by the end of the week. There's actually a chance we see some peaks of sunshine. That's good news. Now, of course, this isn't your normal tropical system where it brings very heavy rainfall, persistent rainfall, very weak low pressure system, very messy presentation looking at satellite and radar right now. So that is going to be your Wednesday update for the morning. Overall, our key points, not looking that impressive, still a very junky looking system, but of course it has a small window that it could develop a little bit stronger, but even still, likely not going to be reaching tropical storm strength, but if it does for a brief period of time, this will be Tropical Storm Dexter. Hope everybody has a great day.